Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm really excited that you're here. If you're new here, welcome. I'm very excited to have you on my channel and hopefully you will come back for some more videos. I am just really prayerfully considering every video that I put out, and today I was just really led to talk about the struggle in waiting. And when we're waiting for the Lord, it can just be really discouraging. I think that no one really talks about the waiting portion. They don't really talk about, the thoughts that go through your head as you're waiting. They just tell you to wait. They tell you to, just get yourself right with the Lord, and that your future spouse will just come right to your front door. But in seriousness, I wanted to talk about just biblically how many people had to wait on the Lord. And one of the things that I was thinking about particularly was Adam and Eve. When God gave them a command, He told them not to eat from the tree. In that, it's interesting because God gave them everything that they needed, and He just told them one rule, one thing that they could not do. And it's interesting, when Satan came to tempt them, he said, "Did God really say?" And I use that as a backstory because I think that's what Satan tries to do to us as singles. When God gives us a word, He gives us a promise, He gives us something like Moses in the burning bush, or Joshua with leading an army to overtake the wall of Jericho. He gives His people promises, and He wants us to stand on those promises. I can think of so many. Abraham, the promise of a son. And when He gives us a promise, He doesn't say it's coming tomorrow. He just wants us to trust Him and obey and follow what His word says. And along that period of waiting, Satan will come in there and he will try to tell us, did God really say? And I know it gets hard when you are just struggling with loneliness. You're struggling with, well, if I compromise my standards, if I compromise my boundaries, if I just would compromise in an area, then I could be with someone. And it becomes like almost this like question in your mind whether or not God told me to wait, whether or not God told me to be pure before marriage, because you see so many people who are not following that. You see so many people who are just going how their flesh says to go, and in your heart you can begin to question, well, did God really tell me that? And I wanted to make this video to encourage you that the waiting is not a quick process. A lot of times the waiting and the journey that God has us on can be a very long one. It can be one where we're just like wanting to get off the ride. But that's where our character is grown. That's where endurance is grown. And there's something very beautiful about a Christian single walking in the authority of God's promise, walking in the authority of that God is in control. I think if we begin to just say that over ourselves, when we begin to doubt and when we begin to fear and when the waiting seems so much longer than we anticipated, We need to tell ourselves, God, you are in control. I trust you. I trust you to lead me to my future spouse. I trust you that you are preparing my future spouse. And I pray that you will help me. I pray that you will help me through this journey. And a lot of times, the way we see something happening isn't the way that God has for us. And when our life isn't panning out the way that we had planned, you might be in your 30s and you're single and you don't have any kids and you're just like, this is not how I pictured my life going. But God is more concerned about our character and our obedience than he is about just our momentary gratifications. And I think as we mature in Christ, we really need to look to eternity. Are the things that we're investing in as a single really beneficial to us? Are we really investing into the kingdom of the Lord? And there's something in dying to ourselves and just relinquishing our desire for marriage and our desire for a spouse into the Lord's hands, because we cannot give ourselves the best blessing. We can take control. We can marry someone outside of God's will. We can go and live with someone outside of God's will. But there's something about knowing that when you give the battle to the Lord, when you give the victory into the Lord's hands, then you know that he is going to bring you his best. He's going to come in like a mighty warrior, and everyone is going to see, like, only God could have done this. Only God could have brought this person with this other person. And ultimately, your marriage is designed to glorify the Lord. And I think that's what we have to continually tell ourselves as a single. Do we want to just enter into a relationship that isn't going to glorify God so that we can fulfill a desire of the flesh? Because once again, talking about Adam and Eve, they had a desire of the flesh that they let cloud a promise and a direction from God. And it was just so detrimental to their life. And I want to encourage you as a single, don't let a momentary flesh desire take you away from the promise of the Lord. And I also want to encourage you, if you feel like you've failed in this area, if you feel like you are currently failing in this area, the cool thing about the Lord is he comes after us. He wants us to repent and turn away from sin. And you're not too far gone. If you feel like, man, I'm really not following after God, I'm really not waiting for him, you need to turn from that and you need to run to him. You need to say, God, take me. I don't want these worldly pleasures. I don't want these worldly desires. I want you. I want to bring glory to your name because I love you. I see what you've done for me on the cross, and everything of this world is like filthy rags compared to the love of the Lord and the joy of his coming. And I think so many times in the waiting season, we can get caught up in just our suffering of the flesh. We can get caught up in looking at what other people have, and we can kind of just feel like, well, why am I waiting? God obviously doesn't care. He doesn't see me here. And those are just all lies of the enemy. He does see you. He loves you. He is so proud of you. He has a path for you that his armies are going before you as you submit your way to the Lord. That's the coolest thing, because you know that your battle is won by the Lord because you have submitted your way to him. So you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry because you're like, okay, God, you've got this. You have got it because I have submitted my life to you. I'm not in rebellion towards you, God. So I trust you. And If there is a generation of Christian singles rising up to say, God, I trust you, I am going to walk in boldness and faith, I guarantee you the world is going to start turning their head. They're going to start seeing a wave of believers coming in and changing up just what true Christianity looks like. There's no longer lukewarm Christians. There's no longer people living with each other before marriage or compromising their values. How would the church look if singles started raising up like that? Because I think it really starts as a single. It starts at the choices you make now, because you will continue to make choices even when you're married. And we need to make these good choices, establish them as a Christian single so that we can impact other people around us. We need to have a bigger view than just ourselves. And I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect at this. I struggle with it all the time, but it's coming back to the heart of the Lord. It's coming back to say, God, I need you. I cannot make it through the season of waiting without you. Help me overcome my unbelief. Help me believe that you are going before me in a powerful way as I submit my will to you, as I cry out to you, Jesus, that you are moving. And I just want to really give you hope in that. I want to remind you that you specifically were designed by God. You have a purpose. You have a calling on your life. And I know sometimes as a single, you can begin to feel insignificant. You can feel like maybe no one sees you. No one knows the struggles that you're going through, but God does. He knows the struggle. There is power in a heart that is submitted to Him to lead Him in the season of waiting. And I just wanted to get this video out here to just embolden you to pray, embolden you to say no to unhealthy relationships that don't honor God, in a way that is joyful and not sorrowful. Once again, I struggle in that. There's so many relationships that I wish I could be in, and it's hard. Like, I'm like, God, I want that so badly. But there's power in a heart that says, God, you know what I want. You see my heart's desire. But I am going to submit my will to yours because I trust that your way is greater than my way. And even though this isn't the way that I would choose, I am choosing you over my heart's desires. I'm choosing you over the flesh. I'm choosing you over the momentary gratifications of the flesh. And as we make that daily choice to submit our will to God in the waiting, we have that authority then that He is going before us in a powerful way, that we can trust that He is going before us even in a long season of waiting. And I just want to encourage you with that. Just because you're in a long season of waiting, that does not mean that God is not seeing you. It does not mean that God doesn't care about you. It just means that He is preparing and equipping you, and not to get disheartened in that. Don't get disheartened in a long season of waiting. Just keep praying, keep believing, keep trusting that He is going before you. Don't doubt. Just hold on to that hope. And I know that it's hard, but I just want to give you that hope that you're not alone in this, that other Christians are waiting, other Christians are praying, other Christians are making these hard choices just like you are. So this is kind of like a pep talk video, and I hope that you come back next week.